behind this work is the transformation of public education so that it begins at birth and continues all the way to college. Our idea is to make access to high quality early childhood education, success in elementary school and high school, and advancement to college, success when they get there, and graduation universal for everyone in the United States. It will be what school is.
I've worked in Head Start for many years, and one of Head Start's areas that they feel we need to make sure we address is transitioning, meaning that when children get ready to leave our Head Start program and go into kindergarten, that we do a series of activities that will help make it a smoother transition. When children leave us and go into kindergarten, they're not filled with anxieties. They know a little bit about what to expect. They have experienced in some way what kindergarten is about, and we have worked while they are here within our Head Start program to get them ready for kindergarten. Well, we were doing that. We were doing what we felt was necessary to get children ready. They had been in our program for 2, sometimes 3 years, and we were providing activities and experiences that we felt would support them as they move into kindergarten. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. When they moved into kindergarten after they left our program, it was a culture shock, totally different. They didn't do things like we did it. You know, we were more nurturing. We gave children more experiences in other areas, not in terms of their social development, their physical development, their health, their cognitive development. And the experiences that they had in kindergarten were very different from what we provided.
They're almost like parallel universes historically, where early childhood educators are dedicated to building a strong foundation, and K-12 educators are dedicated to building academic development. Sometimes you hear this view that the early childhood side does social development and the K-12 side does academic development. Those, I think, what the Urban Education Institute and the Ounce of Prevention know is that those are hyperbolic and sort of polarizing arguments. What's really happened is that they've been separate worlds for other reasons. Their kids are educated in distinct places, so geographically they're separate. The economic kind of architecture, the financial architecture is very different in early childhood and K-12, and the kinds of training and opportunities to learn for educators are also very, very different. So we're intentionally trying to bring the two together, not to subtract, but to add to both sides. Not to suggest one is doing it better than the other, but rather that if we're serious about getting it right for children growing up in urban America, you've got to start when they're born. You can't just do a great job until they're 5 and then send them into dysfunctional schools. There's got to be a coherent pathway from birth through college if we're serious about getting it right.
You know, we talk all the time about closing the achievement gap, but there are hordes of other gaps that never close, and that K-12 is really struggling to close. And once I really culled through that research on intervention, on remediation, and realized this country spends billions in how to fix it once it happens, and we have no answers. And so I really feel like we need to prevent. And I also feel like once you're in remediation, you've somehow sacrificed some spirit of that human, and that it's more humane to prevent learning problems and gaps. So that's literally how I jumped, 2 feet into early childhood, was out of practicality, out of, okay, so if we can't remediate it, then we got to prevent it. And that's got to be the earliest brain development.
A year ago, factors had changed, and so we approached the Ounce of Prevention Fund to see if they were interested in forming the partnership. So they are, and so we're involved in conversations about what a model of public education would look like if it started at birth. So what we have done is sort of we've taken Dick Rothkopf's initial vision, which I think just started with the idea that when EduCare children go to kindergarten, they'll go to high quality kindergarten. And so what we've done is say, well, that's great if there's just this, a bridge that you can cross. But isn't there something that early childhood education could learn from elementary education, and elementary education could learn from early childhood education to actually make that seamless? So the bridge disappears, and what you have instead is a set of very intentional learning experiences, developmental experiences, and supports for children and families beginning at birth. So when they go from a program at age 4 to age 5, it's not a big transition in their life. It's what you would do, as a child growing up in the United States. So that's kind of the vision.
From our perspective, and I think this is equally important, we have always worked very hard with our teachers who come from the community to focus on closing the achievement gap or preventing its opening and thinking about a successful transition to kindergarten. And that's important and that's great, but it's really not enough. We understand that our children have to go to college, and we want our teachers not only to understand that, but to understand what that looks like. What we see in the partnership with UEI is an opportunity to give our teachers, our preschool teachers, and even our birth to 3 teachers, a line of sight into what does it mean to have a child who's ready to go to college, so that they can look at the infant or the 2-year-old or 4-year-old that they're working with and understand what the K and second grade teachers will expect of him, because what the K and second grade teachers understand that the 5th and 7th grade teachers will expect of him, because the 5th and 7th grade teachers understand what the 9th and 12th grade teachers will expect of him. And so we really start to really give all of those teachers a line of sight to the future. And really, we've talked a lot about kindergarten readiness in our organization, but really now I think we need to talk about college readiness.
So in the idea of creating a birth to college model, it's logical that our 2 elementary schools would play a lead role in the partnership with EduCare and the Ounce of Prevention Fund. So I had asked the directors of North Kentwood Oakland and Donahue to participate in the partnership formation in creating the model, as well as teacher leaders from each of the schools who tend to be our primary literacy coordinators at the 2 schools, and the family and community engagement directors. There was a lot of excitement about what everybody saw in all of those places and what the possibilities were for creating something that was rigorous but developmental for children, that gave honor and respect to families. So once that was done, then sort of a planning team kicked in that would, do the shared vision, the goals, the activities, and then we would cycle back again to our teachers. And our planning group also has been, talking with our families about what it would mean if they had an opportunity for their children to be involved in the creation, not only in the creation, but actually be participants in a model of education that begins at birth and goes to college. So families have been important in this design process.
And everybody's plates are full in both sectors, early childhood education as well as K through 12. So who's going to do it? Who's going to initiate it? Who's going to keep it going? Who's going to facilitate these kinds of discussions? It's time consuming. You must be of the mindset that this will make a difference, and that's not always the mindset. The mindset, I'm doing what I need to do here and you're doing what you need to do there, and that's good and that works. But to have the vision to know that a continuation from birth all the way through 12th grade is exactly what we need to have within our society, and which will better support children's growth and development, cognitively as well as socially, emotionally, and physically. That's what we need to do.
We will build a model of public education
for children and their families that begins at birth
and create success in school, college, and life.
My first reaction is the knowledge of what was involved, knowing what was involved in getting that one sentence done. Mm-hmm. And that for me, the power of the vision is much more the process that took place that ended up building a collaborative feeling and a trust that I don't think it could have been there if we didn't use a facilitator, and more using the vision as a means almost more than an end. Mm-hmm. Because this is what we want. I mean, there are of course key words in here that changed over time, but that was that was part of the process. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think of when I look at the vision.
Okay. What's been most important for me about the vision statement is adding the piece about public education. Mm-hmm. My organization here, our history has always been about leveraging public and leveraging private and philanthropy money to leverage change in public expenditure. So I am a die-hard believer that the very foundation of a democracy is public education, and when all of the data talks about that how you really secure equal and high quality opportunities for all of its citizens is by beginning education at birth, if not before. So it was really important to me that our vision was not we're going to build this model and it's going to be able to be delivered in a few places, but that it was really that we strove to have a vision for how this country can sort of come into this century and provide public education that begins at birth.
Our mission is to align and create instructional approaches
and academic and social supports to accelerate student learning,
while honoring and building upon the strengths of the families we serve.
and for me again it's about the whole kid, and so it's it's social emotional, it's academic, it's family, it's it's community, and so it's knowing that if we don't sort of align and respect each of those pieces, that we probably won't be successful.
We're K-12 and early childhood education are coming together. So we don't want to become each other. We want to keep our individuality, but we need to be working together. We need to establish a map for ourselves, saying our vision is our goal and the mission becomes our map and our way of doing the work. So that's what our mission is.
This mission says three main things. One, it's about teaching. Two, it's about social supports. And three, it's about doing all that work by building on the strengths of the families, not just the individual kid.
These are important statements because that's important for anyone reading this to know that the group honors families. Well, you can talk about families in your mission and vision and in your goals, but to know that we really honor families as parents, as children's best advocates, is important and gives the reader a sense of, okay, they've got the right track going. They've got the kind of thinking and the kind of anchors that's going to be throughout this work and be the underpinnings of this work. And it's important to know that these kinds of values are important to know that that's what we are referencing as we go about doing this work.